Now, in the year of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, it's been a difficult week for the royal family. Firstly, on Tuesday evening, news broke that Prince Andrew had settled a civil sexual assault case brought against him in the US by Virginia Giuffre. Then on Wednesday, the Metropolitan Police said it was to investigate claims that Prince Charles' charity offered honours to help a Saudi citizen. So how damaging has the week been for the royal family, and what does the future hold? Dickie Arbiter is a former spokesman for the royal household, and Andy Barr is CEO of 10 Yetis PR and has a background in crisis management. Andy, I'll start with you. Where would you have started trying to manage this particular crisis?
Good morning, and wow, how do you even start unpicking this? I think it's crisis 101. Crisis 101. If you can apologise without admitting liability, then you should do. And obviously, in this case, Prince Andrew wasn't able to do that. Prince Charles has kind of kept very quiet so far, although he's got some friends come out firing for him this morning. So it is a very dangerous PR precedent for the royal family, almost up there with the Diana scandal and how the royals were sort of frozen in time.
When you go back to the Newsnight interview, Andy, I mean, is that going to be held up, do you think, at some point, in learning in the PR world as one of the biggest PR disasters in recent times?
Very much so. People like me who deliver lectures to future PR students and things like that will go on to reference this, and that's because typically in crisis PR, you wouldn't do an interview of that stature until things had calmed down. In this case, until after he'd done the payoff and then took a bit of time to hide away. And then in a few months' time, you would have expected him to come out and do a very controlled, very tight, maybe a bit of a light interview, very similar to what Prince Harry did with Oprah Winfrey. So it was a surprise. He did it in the wrong order, and I was really shocked that the royal comms people, who are the best in the world, really made a mistake on this one.
Yeah, there's a theory, isn't there, that the Emily Maitlis interview was actually a major factor in encouraging him to settle, because it helped him and the people around him realise what an awful witness he would have made if it had gone the distance.
Oh, very much so. And I think he was very much against the ropes until the lady involved uttered the words, "It's not about the money." On the day that she said, "It's not about the money," I was actually delivering a lecture. And I said at that point during that lecture, "It's about the money and she will be paid off." That was, that was the point that we all knew it was going to happen. But yeah, that interview, ruined his reputation and set everything in course, really.
Yeah, it's worth just listening to a little bit of that interview that took place on Newsnight, because he was asked specifically, Prince Andrew, about his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, a paedophile, a billionaire who had abused women. And this was what he said to Emily Maitlis.
Do you regret the whole friendship with Epstein?
Now, still not. And the reason being is that the people that I met and the opportunities that I was given to learn, either by him or because of him, were actually very useful. The problem was the fact that once he had been convicted,
you stayed with him.
I stayed with him, and that's the bit that as it were, I kick myself for on a daily basis, because it was not something that was becoming of a member of the royal family. And we try and uphold the highest standards and practices, and I let the side down. Simple as that.
Well, Dickie, when you listen to that and you hear how he handled that, it does lead you to have some concerns, perhaps, about his judgment in how that was all handled. And certainly that seems to be a concern inside the royal family with the likes of Prince Charles and Prince William.
Well, there was no judgment in terms of giving that interview. I'm sure that he thought he could talk his way out of any relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Andrew is not the brightest bunny on the planet, and he's not very good at thinking on his feet, as we heard from those answers, and it should never have happened. But the fact that it did, the fact that he never told anybody that he might have been doing the interview, but not the content of the interview, to say that he didn't know the content himself at the beginning is rubbish. He would have known exactly where the interview was coming from. And it was a big mistake.
Where does it leave the royal family, though? I see, for example, in the papers this morning, they're taking some of what Jonathan Dimbleby, who is a friend of Prince Charles, saying that this isn't some sort of annus horribilis. Is there a danger that the royal family does not take these things seriously? And I'm talking as well about these questions about Charles's charity and this question of potentially kind of honours being offered to this Saudi citizen. I mean, is there a danger that they don't take all of this seriously enough and it potentially leaves them very vulnerable for the future?
As individuals, the royals do take it seriously. William takes things very seriously. Prince of Wales takes things very seriously. And he can't be held accountable just because he's got a rotten egg in the basket. I mean, if you've got a rotten egg in the basket, you don't throw the whole punnet away. You just get rid of the bad egg. But he is head of the organisation. As in any organisation, a bit like civil servants, they'll tell their minister what they want the minister to hear rather than what the minister should hear. And I think that's what you find with the organisations of which he's head, president or patron or whatever, that they tell him what they think he should hear rather than some of the things that might be going wrong. We have a situation here where it is reputational damage to individuals rather than the institution. Institution is a lot stronger than people imagine. So yes, reputational damage, certainly a lot of damage to Andrew, short-term damage to the Prince of Wales that maybe he should have known more, but you're only as good as the information that's being passed on to you. Yeah, there'll be a police investigation. What they'll come up with, that remains to be seen. As far as Andrew is concerned, there is no way back for him. I don't agree with your guest suggesting he should do an interview, calling the Oprah interview a soft interview. It was far from soft. It was an opportunity for the Sussexes to rubbish the royal family. So best for Andrew, once the payoff is completed, we don't know how much it's going to be. We don't know when it's going to be. There's an agreement in principle, and that's all it is at the moment. And until such time that's over, we should stop speculating.
Just finally on that, Dickie, I mean, it's worth remembering this is not just the royal family, it is also a family. And whenever you think about the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, you have her potentially having these celebrations with the Sussexes, as you mentioned, very much rubbishing the other members of the family. You have a son in Prince Andrew who it's questionable whether he can appear in any part of those celebrations whatsoever. How do you handle this? Do you just clear the decks and make it the Queen and maybe Prince Charles and Prince William?
Well, the Queen has effectively cleared the deck. She's fired Prince Andrew from any participation in any royal engagements or any royal work. She's fired him in terms of his association with the military. So he's been marginalised. As far as Harry and Meghan are concerned, they've chosen their bed. They're lying in it in California. So, yes, the Platinum Jubilee will be the Queen, obviously, because it is her 70th anniversary. Prince of Wales, Duchess of Cornwall, the Wessexes, the Cambridges, and the Princess Royal, and that is the slimmed-down monarchy.
And Andy, just finally, before we go, does the backdrop of this change how you're looking then to approach the Platinum Jubilee celebrations? Do you think, or is it as was planned?
No, I think as with any good crisis comms plan, you need to carry on as planned. I think. As per your last story with Nick Clegg, the current guest is a good example. If you've got a posh British accent, you can get away with pretty much everything. I think in this case, it's very much a story of the royal reputation as a whole has got tarnished a little bit by this, and I think anyone who says it isn't is a little bit naive. It's in the modern day society, in the modern day social media, which is totally inaccurate and totally irrelevant, and we all know it's nonsense. The royals have had a knock. The Queen remains at the top, a spectacular figure who I personally love and respect. But as an institution, they have been rocked by this. Two royals are caught in a massive scandal. We've got another royal that's kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. I'm guessing to be parachuted in the future in William, and it is a mess at the minute. And anyone who said it isn't, is frankly a little bit out of touch with modern society.
Okay, thanks to both of you, Dickie Arbiter and Andy Barr.